In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this console table. It's made out of a unique wood, something I've never worked with before. It's called bodark. It's also called horse apple or hedge apple or Osage orange. It's an extremely hard wood. Has a very unique color. It's almost a neon yellow, especially when you're working it in the shop, all the sawdust. If you watch the video, you'll see this bright yellow sawdust everywhere. So it's kind of cool. But it's a very simple build. All the joinery I did is mortise and tenon joinery, and all of it I did with a router and a simple jig that I made in the shop. Something that if you have a router, you could easily build something similar to this. Even if you didn't, the first part of the video goes over flattening all this. But even if you didn't go through that, if you bought, you don't have a joiner and a planer and all that stuff, if you buy some flat lumber and get it milled up, you could easily make a similar design with any kind of wood. So let's get started.
I built this table out of three small slabs. One of them I cut in half to make the two legs out of. And I'm just going to show flattening one of them. This is the top piece. This will become the top of it. Took many passes. It was definitely a little crooked. So after many passes on the joiner, the bottom side finally got flat. I'm going to flip it over here in a second. You can see that yellow color. Look at that. Now I'm going to run the top side through the planer. And for those of you that don't know, a planer is cutting the top of the board. You can see how that get fresh wood coming out of the top side there. So we flatten the bottom side on the joiner. The top side's getting flattened with the planer, and they're actually called a thickness planer if you were doing multiple boards at the same time. Which all the rest of the other three pieces I cut all together at the same time. But anyway, if you were cutting them all at the same time, they would all end up being the same thickness as well as being flat on the top and the bottom. Now I'm getting all the bark off of this thing, and this probably took more time than anything. The joinery didn't take any time at all compared to getting all the bark off of it. You may have noticed while I was running this over the joiner, I didn't have my guard on there, and that was just because of the size of the boards. It's a 12-inch joiner, and these things were, just right at 12 inches, and they would not pass over it with that guard in place, so I had to take it off. But that makes me a little nervous, but sometimes you have to do that. Now all the bark's off. I'm going to get an initial sanding done, just to make sure I've gotten everything off of there and I'm happy with the look of it. I'm going to get the milling marks sanded out of the top and bottom side of it. Now this is one of the legs, and as you can see, it was a little wider than the top right there, so I'm just cutting this corner off so it doesn't stick out past the top. Now here I've already got my tenons cut on that bottom shelf. I didn't film that, but I did film cutting the tenons on the tops of the legs, and it's the exact same process. So you'll see that process here in a little bit. So I had my legs set up where I wanted them. I traced around the tenons, and now I'm getting my router set up to make my mortises for those tenons. I'm just setting my depth there. And I make my depth a little deeper than my tenon is long. That way there's just a little room, so if there's any extra glue in there or anything, it has a place to go. And you can see that little jig on my joiner, or on my router. It's awesome. I use it all the time. If you've watched any of our past videos, you probably have seen it before. It's just a real simple deal. It's got, it's just a piece of plywood with those two slots cut in it, so it has that fence on the back side of it there that you can pull forward or push back, whichever way, wherever you need it. So I just lined up my my cutting bit there with where I wanted my shelf, and then pulled that stop up. And I didn't cut my my mortise quite long enough, but I can't seem to figure that out, and I keep trying to force it on there. My dad always told me when I was younger to never force anything. If it doesn't fit, you need to figure out why. But here I am still, apparently I didn't learn. I'm still trying to force that on. I finally figured it out, and take a little more off with a chisel. I just take it off the tenon instead of redoing the mortise. And I end up needing to take a little more off before I finally get it to where it slides on good. And there's two ways you can do a mortise and tenon with a router. Once you get done with your mortise, you can square up the corners with the mortise in the mortise with a chisel, or you can just round off the edges of your tenons, the corners of your tenons. And that's the route I choose to do. It seems to be easier to me than trying to square up the corners on my mortise. And you notice I don't set up stops for the sides of the mortise. That's because it's not terribly important. Just as long as it's not too long, I'm gonna, I cut either side of the tenon off, which you'll see here in a minute. So there's pieces of wood sticking out from each end. So if that mortise is just a little long, that's okay. I just do it by hand as close as I can, and it always works out fine. Never had a problem with that. Although apparently with this thing I'm having problems getting my mortises long enough for both of them. I had to cut off both of them there. Alright, so now I'm going to make my tenons. And these digital tools are great for this because I don't care what 1.67 is. I don't care what kind of fraction that is. I'm just going to use that 1.67. I'm going to subtract 0.75, and that gives me the 0.92. And I divide that in half, and then I set that number up on this little doohickey. And as you can see here, it's a little hard to dial in, so I'm using my my depth stop on the plunge router has a little fine tuning knob on it. So I'm getting it as close as I can by hand, then I'm going back and fine tuning it with that little knob, and moving it, plunging it and checking my measurement until I get it to that 0.47 that it needs to be. So I cut the top side of the tenon, flip it over. We're going to cut the bottom side of the tenon. I'm just going to do a single little pass here and double check and make sure I'm happy with the thickness of it. It comes out to just over 3/4 of an inch. I mean, that's a 64th maybe. And I'm happy with that. So little action shot here. Now I'm cutting the tenon on the other leg, same process. And I'm going to cut the cheek there's what the tenon looks like right now. We're going to cut the cheeks off, the two sides off of that tenon. Look at that sawdust in the background. Look how yellow that stuff is. I mean, it's like a neon glow in the dark kind of yellow. I'm just going to use a multi-tool to cut these cheeks off. And you need to be careful with this thing because obviously it's aggressive, and you can easily screw up the edges of in this case, the legs. If you come in at an angle or something. So sometimes I do this with a handsaw, but that's definitely much easier. Handsaw is more precise. That's a lot easier. Now I'm just rounding those corners off like I was talking about earlier, so they fit in the rounded over mortise. Now we've got both of those done, and we're going to test fit the top on there. Well, actually, we're not test fitting the top. I'm gonna line the top up and figure out where I want to put it. With all these live edges, there's not a precise place. I'm just eyeballing it and making sure I'm happy with where it's sitting, making sure it's somewhat centered, because I didn't square up the ends. I liked the ends on both sides of this slab I had, so I just sanded them smooth, but I left them at the angles and stuff that they were at. So I'm just eyeballing where I want to put that. I'm tracing my mortises out. And because those ends are not straight, I can't use my jig to cut these mortises like I did on the bottom of the legs. So I had to put this board on here and ride along the edge of that board. And there wasn't any measuring involved in that either. You'll see here in a second. I'll set up the other side and show the whole process, but I'm just going to set my router down where I want it and then bring the board up to it. But then you've got to move it around and make sure you're good all the way across your mortise so you don't have a crooked mortise. If you had a straight side, you could just use a square to make sure that was straight, but with all these live edges, that just wasn't possible. Put a second deeper clamp on there just so it doesn't move on me while I'm cutting. And when you're doing this, it's always better to take small, shallow passes instead of deep ones. The deep ones, you can burn up your router bit real quick, get it too hot. Especially with hardwood like this, I always prefer to take shallow passes and just do more of them. And I don't know if you noticed before, but I have two squares sitting in the corners there, just to make sure my legs were straight up and down. Back when I was marking for my my mortise holes. We're gonna get this thing assembled, and I have a screw up on every single project, and we're here. This is where I screwed up. So right here, this is the top side of the shelf, and I flipped it over. So I've got the bottom side of the shelf showing right now. And I don't know how I got my legs all spun around, but I had them on the wrong sides. I had my top on the wrong side, so those weren't a big deal. But having the shelf upside down, I had to take it back apart, and luckily the glue wasn't set yet. I took it back apart, put more glue on it, flipped the shelf over, obviously, and put it back together. And I was frustrated when I did that. I actually turned the camera off. You can see here I'm having problems because my top is upside is backwards. So I need to spin that around. That's not a big deal. But after that, as I start clamping it up, I realized my bottom shelf, because I had a front to the bottom shelf and a front to my top shelf, and they were facing opposite directions. And it took me, I don't know if you can see outside, but it's dark out there. You can see that window behind me is dark. I'm in the shop late. I'm tired, and I'm standing there. I can't figure out why one's facing one way and one's facing the other. It took me a minute. So I took it all apart, and you can see here I've got the shelf facing the correct direction again. I'm going to clean up my glue squeeze out and then get that top clamp down. And this thing's really done. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's a simple build. I love it. We've done it with several different types of wood. This is the first time I've done it with a live edge, and I love the result. I like how it turned out. On this end, this thing is not as long as my workbench is, so this end I was able to just clamp down on the edge. But this other side was too far away from the end of my workbench to do that with. So I had to put a board across it so I could pull down on that right above that mortise and tenon. So I've got a clamp on either end of that. Didn't do a good job of getting that in the camera. But there's a clamp on either side of that board, and I'm just go back and forth and tighten them down until I'm happy with it. Now I'm going to brush on some Vermont natural coatings. Normally we spray this finish on, but I didn't want to mess with cleaning my spray gun in between each coat. This bottom, I'm going to put 2 coats on the bottom, and I'm going to flip it over and do 1 more coat on the legs, and then 3 coats on the top of the shelf and the top. I don't show all that. I mean, obviously you don't need to sit here and watch me do this 3 times or 4 or 5 times. James came in because he wanted to see the color of the wood with the finish on it. We tried some Rubio Monocoat. This wood, when it oxidizes in the air, it turns kind of a rusty orange color, which I don't like at all. This is definitely a different color wood. I mean, it's unique. I don't know. Some people might think it's ugly. Some people may love it, but the rusty orange, I don't care for at all. After I put the Rubio on it, it's turned that rusty color. So I went with the Vermont natural coatings, and it did a great job. We put a satin finish on it, and I love the end result. If you guys like this video, I'd love for you to hit that like button, leave a comment, leave a question, follow the channel would be outstanding, share the video, all that would help me a great deal. Thanks for watching.